This next Reddit story is why your best managers are your greatest legal liability. I interviewed for a senior marketing position last week. The hiring manager was really nice and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me as a person, not just my resume. About halfway through the interview, she asked if I had young children at home. I said yes, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. She then asked how I would handle the evening meetings and occasional weekend work with young kids at home. I explained my childcare situation and assured her it wouldn't be a problem. The rest of the interview went great. She said I was exactly what they were looking for and that my experience was perfect for the role. I left feeling really confident. 2 days later, I got a generic rejection email. Through LinkedIn, I just found out that they hired a man with less experience who I actually know from a previous company. He also has young kids, but I seriously doubt they asked him about his childcare situation. My name is Alex Castro. I'm a labor and employment attorney based out of South Florida with AXC Legal PLLC. Everything that we're going to talk about today, this is not legal advice. If you've got any issues that sound even remotely familiar to this, you need to talk to your own attorney about what on earth you need to do here. Problem with crap like this is a lot of folks think that they're doing the right thing for the company when they try to plan ahead and they try to anticipate problems that may not actually exist. So here you've got a manager who's trying to think about like all the timing and scheduling needs of the company. They want to make sure that when they hire for this role, they're hiring the right person who can be there for the job, who can show up on time, be reliable for the team, and actually be present when they need to be there. They probably just made an assumption here that because this person they're interviewing is a woman, that they might have childcare issues. Problem is, did this person ever say that any of that was a problem? No. This is a really common story because you've got this kind of bleeding heart manager who thinks that they're planning ahead and that they're being smart and that they're trying to get ahead of things. When in reality, they're just kind of fear-mongering problems that don't exist and actually create more problems than they actually did. Because now you've got a situation where there's potentially discrimination and harassment where it otherwise might not even have existed. So the workplace, for better or for worse, is not the place to have the conversations that you would have with your friends at a bar or on the phone at night or while you're taking a walk. And this takes the form of many different things. There's a lot of questions, for example, that like managers ask, thinking that they're being either clever or that they're being well-intentioned, that just kind of get in the way. So, do you have kids at home? Do you have any plans of getting pregnant? Or are you pregnant? And hey, we noticed you've got a baby bump and you're pregnant. Can you do that thing that you've been doing perfectly fine for the last 6 months, in your job? And they also make plenty of comments about things that they think will be helpful and that end up causing more problems. So, an employee comes to them with a medical issue and the manager promises, oh yeah, absolutely, we're gonna keep this completely confidential. We don't wanna, share your medical information with anybody. Or if somebody needs time off, they just say, yeah, go take it, don't need to involve HR, like they wanna be the cool boss. And they think that they're being really super grounded and human, when in reality, they're stepping the lines into protected places of law. And when you don't involve HR or leadership in the company, these types of things get lost in the cracks. You've now got an employee who knows that these conversations were had, that these pieces of information about themselves were revealed to the company. The manager kind of stopped right there. Rather than following their own protocols and talking to HR or relaying the information to senior leadership, the buck stopped with them. So inevitably, something might happen in that employment relationship. This person might leave, they might get a new manager and claim, this new manager hated me, or they may get a move, they may get a promotion, they may get a change in pay, whatever thing you may want to suspect happened to them. Maybe they get fired. When bad things happen at work, people will fill in the gaps with whatever information they think might have played a role into it. And often when somebody has gotten to the point of filing a lawsuit or filing a charge of discrimination, they've done that in consultation with a lawyer. And if there's a gap to be filled, you better bet that gap is going to be filled with something nefarious, something illegal, something retaliatory, something discriminatory, stuff like that. You as the company are going to really struggle to say otherwise because you didn't follow protocol, you don't got the documentation, communications that needed to be had higher up the chain of command never actually happened. And so yeah, maybe you win that lawsuit at the very, very end of the day once all the discovery is had, all the depositions have been taken. But at this point, you're $100,000 in the hole. You've had to run the company through 6 months at a minimum of litigation, all to prove that you were right. And that's one of those victories that's like a Pyrrhic victory where, yeah, maybe you won at the end of the day, but at what cost? you feel like both a loser and a winner at the same time. So the best way to deal with that is to never find yourself in that situation in the first place, which is like a critical reason why management training is so important, because under the eyes of the law, the manager is the company. You as senior leadership or HR might view that middle manager as just that, a middle manager. The law views it as the actions of the company in and of themselves. And that's going to get you sued. So if your individual managers are not following protocol, if they are trying to be a little bit too friendly and a little bit too human to the point that they completely blur the lines, what is professional workplace conduct and therefore stuff that may be protected under the law, there was a situation bubbling under your nose the whole time, but you could have never possibly known about it because this manager thought that they were being a great manager and just never said anything. An HR professional or a business leader really needs to see this video because they hire their managers to help run their business and to perform certain functions. A lot of the times what folks don't realize though is that these managers bind the company. I do these all the time where I've got management trainings and I'm talking to a room of middle level managers who maybe supervise 1 or 2 employees who may just be one step up the chain in and of themselves, and they don't appreciate that their actions bind the company and can legally get them in trouble, and quite often do in these employment discrimination retaliation type cases, because that's the person with whom the employee has the most direct relationship, and usually where communications are had, divulgence of information happen. And when those managers don't really appreciate that their actions or inactions create liability on behalf of the company, you end up with a lawsuit on your desk talking about the actions between an employee and a manager. Meanwhile, you have no clue what on earth has been going on with these people. You didn't even know that this situation was happening. All the while, you are on the hook for it just the same. And if you are not aware that your managers need to act in accordance with the law, otherwise they incur the company liability, then how are they going to know, right? Knowing the stuff that I'm talking about in this video is really an opportunity for you to stop and be like, wait a second, do my managers have any idea the liability that they can be incurring on behalf of the company on a daily basis? And if they don't, that's your sign to have a sit down with them, organize a training, play a YouTube video for all I care, so that they at least have some knowledge of what they should and should not be doing. And often that involves curtailing their instincts. They're really human instincts that sometimes cross the line into protected areas of law. If any of this has got you worried, click the link below to schedule a consultation with me where we can walk through these things.